Welcome, Leo. It's your in-depth weekly astrology overview for week commencing the 20th of July for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. Going to share the big themes of the week ahead first. On screen is your event chart. I'm going to unpack that. I'll then go through each of those influences in detail. By the end of the video, you have a clearer idea of what the planets hold in store in terms of energy, work, relationships, and finances. Over the last few weeks, with Jupiter newly arrived in your sign, that may have created a spark of positivity. But alongside that, Mercury, the communicator, has been bogged down in a very psychological area, but also in a retrograde. Mercury goes direct this week, but moreover, the sun returns to your sign at the heart of the week. And that's the most glorious event because the sun rules Leo. And it's a chance to reignite all of the things that are so important to you. Now, when Mercury plays catch up and joins up with the Sun and Jupiter on the 9th of August, that really will be an ignition point. And of course, we do have that upcoming brilliant solar eclipse on the 12th of August too. So there's a lot for you to look forward to. But if you have felt a bit bogged down recently and things haven't been moving forwards quite as you would like, now is the chance that you can gain greater traction. But there's still a lot of energy, very positive energy, in the part of your chart to do with your connections to others. And right at the start of the week, Mars, the planet of passion, is linking very productively to Saturn, the planet of structure. And if there is something that's really important to you, perhaps to do with a collective, a group activity, or a long-term plan, I think the combination of that aspect, the arrival of the sun and Mercury going direct, can definitely give you a lot more momentum. So on the screen, Leo, is the event chart at the start of the week, and there's Mercury, which begins the week in retrograde, but it is in a square with Saturn. So if there's a delicate issue that you're still to resolve, it might be around a contractual matter. Mercury can be to do with documentation. Saturn in the ninth house, legalities. It may be that despite the fact that Mercury is unraveling from that retrograde, that a little bit of care is still needed, and Mercury won't emerge from its post-retrograde shadow until the 7th of August. But there's no doubting that the sun moving into your sign is absolutely fantastic. And of course, we're emerging from uh, the Barbault Basket. You can kind of see the basket there, but upside down, if you like. And why the end of Sunday was so influential was that the moon, partway through the day, was linking into Jupiter at 4 degrees, Uranus at 4, Neptune at 4, and also Pluto at 4 too. So really quite exquisite. But ironically, later on Monday, the moon moves into an opposition with Saturn. So even if you did get a burst of enthusiasm, a sense that something larger was really taking shape, it's possible that there could be some resistance met as we go deeper into Monday. Also, as the sun makes its way into your sign, it does go into a right angle with Chiron. If you're really wanting to raise your profile, but uncharacteristically in terms of your archetype, not feeling completely sure of your talents, perhaps you've got a little bit of imposter syndrome that you may feel, do try to overcome that. It may be that perhaps when you were younger, you weren't coached in terms of taking the center stage. And although there is a belief that every Leo strides the earth in a hugely confident way, I think the reality is a little bit more realistic in that we're all human. We can all have different characteristics. For example, my midheaven and Uranus are in Leo. In the 10th house, Uranus That's probably why I'm an astrologer. So, but in other ways, I can be extremely quiet and reserved. So we all have different parts of our nature. And if you are one of those Leos that doesn't match that larger than life caricature, it's your chance to try to push through any inner barriers that may be holding you back. But if you are a creative and you're wanting to expand what you're doing, Jupiter's linked to Neptune certainly can help you to showcase those talents. However, Saturn does go into a retrograde through to December towards the end of the week on Saturday. And that just suggests that if you have got something you'd like to do around travel, higher education, broadcasting, publishing, you're really going to have to roll your celestial sleeves up through to December. But that doesn't mean to say you can't achieve your goal. It just requires a lot of application. Now, when it comes to money, Venus, the planet of money, is in a very good part of your chart, even if it's a little muted in terms of romance in the practical Virgo. But as the week goes on, it does come into a square with Mars. If you and a partner, and if you recall, Venus did square with Uranus last week, which may have created a little bit of friction. But if you and a partner see things differently about the future or even about the household budget, that could show up towards the end of this week. But equally, you could find yourself attracted to someone in a way which is almost hard to decipher because of the Sun and Jupiter going opposite Pluto. You may be drawn to someone's energy, perhaps because they've got an aura that is very, very potent, but you might in some ways feel a bit tremulous about that connection, but it could be very difficult to resist, and it may be linked to a friend. I'm going to summarize those four areas of vitality, work, relationships, and finances next, Leo. But just on the subject of Uranus in the trine with Pluto, which perfected last Saturday, the 18th, it's going to occur again on the 29th of November. So essentially, they're in a trine for the rest of this year. Apart from your solar eclipse and the switch of the nodes, I would say it's the most influential aspect of the whole year. And it's going to be repeated another 3 times over the next 2 years. So it's a kind of 2 year forecast, if you like. And if you want to know more about that, please click on the eye on the screen, or I'll put the link to the video underneath. You can also check out your last 6 months of the year forecast too, which is very detailed. And I hope you enjoy that as well. I've reduced the price of my personal horoscope reports, 3 for the price of 1, but now you can get your forecast, your transit forecast, 3 right through to the end of 27. You will get your life roadmap report, but also free your Draconic soul karmic analysis. Please see below for more on that if you'd like to work with me one-to-one or to sign up for your free daily written horoscope. So to summarize, as far as energy is concerned, I think your emotional energy perhaps has been quite sensitive recently, despite Jupiter being in your zodiac sign. And you may have at times felt that other people aren't keeping you in the loop. And perhaps there's been some subtle misunderstandings, and that may have affected your energy, I feel. And that I hope will really improve as this week goes on, particularly with the Sun returning to your sign, because that's an annual event which really recharges us. The Sun, very much about our innate vitality. And there's no better position for the Sun to be in other than your sign. It's pretty close to Jupiter as well, which also adds extra vitality, self-belief, and confidence. However, as far as your professional situation, if there's something you want to do on your terms, perhaps your own small venture, for example, but you're not quite sure how to reach out to people, Chiron is saying to you in the square to the Sun, don't let the unknown stop you from taking some steps forwards. Just try out, experiment, and take it one step at a time. I think some influential friends can be very helpful to you. And the chances are you have got a very visionary and far-sighted idea that's bubbling away. And if so, really do invest all of your energies in it. As far as money's concerned, well, having Venus in the second house is pretty good. I think it's possible with the square to Mars that you could be potentially a little bit frivolous, maybe even a bit generous to the wrong cause or the wrong person, but generally pretty good. And as far as your professional situation is concerned, if you do work in an organization that's perhaps a little bit more static, not used to being as entrepreneurial as perhaps it could be, if you come up with some brilliant ideas and they're not received well, it may be the time to think about who you could connect with that would appreciate the vision and enthusiasm that you have. Thank you so much for joining me, Leo. Have a great week, and I do hope to see you again soon.